life always reflects the state of the soul. When you turn your gaze inward and cease the noise of the outer world, a great law begins to move on your behalf. The silent mind is a magnet for right conditions, right people, and right opportunities. Silence is strength. It is not retreat, but preparation. When you stop scattering energy in needless words or comparisons, you allow divine order to work swiftly. What belongs to you cannot be taken. It arrives when you are centered, not when you are chasing. By focusing on yourself, on peace, gratitude, and unwavering faith, you open the channel for supply, love, and guidance. Doors that seemed closed begin to unlock. Paths that appeared hidden unfold with ease. Stay silent. Stay aligned. Trust the unseen law. When you do, everything begins to fall perfectly into place, without effort and without delay. The power of silence is the strongest force you can ever master. For silence is not emptiness, it is fullness, it is the sacred space where the unseen power begins its work, quietly, without disturbance, without interference from fear or doubt. When you remain silent and focused on yourself, you are not withdrawing from life, you are stepping into the highest alignment with life itself. You are creating a channel where all things can flow toward you in perfect order. Most people waste their strength in endless words, in explaining, in defending, in comparing, in proving, and in that scattering of energy they lose their true magnetism. But the one who knows the law understands that silence speaks louder than 1,000 arguments. Silence commands, silence creates, silence protects. When you are silent, you are not absent, you are present with power, for you are no longer pulled into noise, opinions, or distractions that are designed to confuse the spirit. You become like still water, and in still water, reflection is clear, direction is visible, guidance is unmistakable. The loud world cannot give you clarity, it only multiplies confusion. Silence is the key that opens the door where divine intelligence whispers the next step. When you stop announcing your every move, your every desire, you protect the seed until it is rooted, until it is ready to bloom without interference. Words spoken too soon expose you to doubt, resistance, and delay, but silence guards your harvest until the perfect time. To focus on yourself and stay silent is to acknowledge that everything you seek is already moving toward you. You no longer run after what you desire, you allow it to run toward you. The one who chases pushes blessings away. The one who remains calm and inwardly aligned draws them in. The law is simple. When you no longer speak against yourself, when you no longer waste energy on noise, you give space for miracles to take their shape. The outer world always adjusts to the state of the inner world. When the inner world is silent, the outer world arranges itself in harmony. Silence is not weakness, silence is protection. A person who argues, who tries to prove, who tries to be louder than others, has already lost their inner balance. But the silent one rests in the certainty that the law is working, that nothing can oppose the will of spirit, that no man, no condition, no obstacle can prevent what is divinely theirs. When you are silent, you rise above conflict. You do not fight with shadows, you let light dissolve them. You do not explain your worth is seen in the results that silence brings forth. You do not need to declare war on the world arranges itself in peace around you when you remain steadfast in your inner calm. Focus on yourself, for the one who looks outward loses themselves, but the one who looks inward finds the entire universe waiting. The greatest victories are not won in noise but in silence. The richest supply is not found in endless seeking but in quiet expectation. The truest love is not forced by words but drawn in by the radiance of a peaceful soul. When you are silent and focused, you are saying to the world, I trust, I know, I am certain, and certainty moves mountains without a sound. Everything you desire is already appointed, already prepared, already aligned with your name upon it. But it arrives when you are no longer restless, when you no longer chase, when you no longer give power to outer noise. Silence is surrender to divine order, and surrender is not defeat. Surrender is victory, for it is in surrender that the law acts freely on your behalf. The silent one is not anxious, the silent one is certain, and in that certainty all things arrive at the right time, in the right way, without struggle, without delay. Stay silent when others misunderstand you, for their misunderstanding cannot touch your destiny. Stay silent when others doubt you, for their doubt cannot delay your promise. Stay silent when others question you, for the law answers louder than words. Stay silent when your blessing is small, for silence multiplies it until it becomes great. Stay silent when your path is hidden, for in silence the path is revealed step by step. The power of silence builds strength within you that cannot be shaken. It teaches patience, it teaches faith, it teaches discipline, it frees you from needing applause or approval, for silence is its own reward. You begin to understand that the less you speak of what is unfolding, the faster it unfolds, the less you share. Of what you plan, the smoother the plan is carried out. The less you argue, the more peace surrounds you. Everything falls into place when you are silent, because silence aligns you with the law of perfect timing. It is in silence that you stop forcing, and when you stop forcing, you stop resisting, and when you stop resisting, everything begins to flow. You cannot see the river when you are stirring the water, but when you are still, the river reveals its current and carries you exactly where you are meant to go. Silence is faith in action. Silence is wisdom in practice. Silence is trust embodied. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, the unseen begins to move the seen. The impossible begins to shape itself into the possible. The crooked places begin to straighten. The closed doors begin to open. The wrong turns begin to correct. The right people begin to appear. And what once felt delayed suddenly arrives on time. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is fullness. It is the invisible thread that ties everything together until it falls into perfect place. Self-focus brings clarity because when you turn your attention inward instead of scattering it outward, the fog of confusion lifts and the path becomes visible before you. The mind that runs after every distraction cannot hear the voice of guidance, cannot see the open door that is waiting, cannot receive the supply that is already near. But the mind that is anchored in self-focus is like a polished mirror. It reflects truth without distortion. Most people lose their way because they are busy studying the lives of others, measuring themselves against shadows, and seeking approval where none is needed. In the process, they forget that clarity does not come from comparison, it comes from alignment. When you focus on yourself, you begin to see clearly what belongs to you, what is not for you, and what must be released. This is the great law of clarity. It comes when energy is gathered within, not when it is scattered without. Self-focus is not selfishness, it is spiritual responsibility. You were not placed on this earth to copy the footsteps of another, but to walk the path that was divinely written for you. Every time you allow yourself to be distracted by opinions, gossip, or noise, you step away from that path and confusion takes hold. The voice of truth is always speaking, but it cannot be heard above the clamor of the crowd. The one who turns inward, who chooses silence, who places attention upon their own growth, begins to hear with clarity the instruction that others miss. They are guided step by step, for the law cannot fail, and guidance is always clear when the mind is free from outer interference. When you focus on yourself, the unnecessary begins to fall away. The false friendships reveal themselves. The empty pursuits no longer satisfy. The opinions of others lose their hold. What once seemed urgent becomes unimportant, and what once seemed distant begins to draw near. Self-focus sharpens vision. It is like removing dust from a window. Suddenly the light shines through, and what was hidden becomes plain. You no longer waste energy chasing what was never yours. You no longer struggle for what does not belong. Because clarity reveals that your good is already appointed and nothing can prevent its arrival. Clarity is not about knowing the entire future at once. It is about seeing the next right step, and that step is only revealed when the gaze is turned inward. The one who chases 100 paths never walks even one, but the one who focuses walks steadily, and surely, and before long they find themselves where they were destined to be. Life arranges itself around focus. The scattered mind meets obstacles, but the centered mind meets order. The law of clarity responds to stillness, to faith, to self-trust, and when you focus on yourself, you embody all three. Many people speak of being lost, yet they never pause long enough to listen to the direction within. They seek a map from others, a sign from the world, an answer from the outside, and still they remain in circles. The truth is that the map is always inward, the sign is already written on the heart, the answer is already speaking in silence. Clarity comes not in noise but in stillness, and stillness begins with self-focus. The moment you stop looking outward for validation, the moment you stop seeking permission from others, the moment you stop chasing applause, clarity appears like the morning sun, undeniable and certain. When you focus on yourself, confusion fades because you no longer measure your journey by another's timeline. You see that what is yours cannot be taken, and what is not yours cannot be forced. You learn patience, because clarity teaches you that divine timing is perfect timing. You learn discipline, because clarity reveals that small, consistent steps create great victories. You learn peace, because clarity assures you that the path is unfolding, as it should, even when you cannot see the entire way ahead. Self-focus brings clarity in love, in work, in purpose. In love, it teaches you not to beg for affection, for true love is drawn to wholeness, not desperation. In work, it guides you to the opportunities that align with your gift, rather than those that drain your spirit. In purpose, it shows you that your calling is not hidden, it has been, within you all along, waiting for you to quiet the noise and listen. When you focus inward, you no longer force doors, you walk through the ones that open naturally. You no longer plead for answers, you receive them in peace. You no longer doubt your worth, for clarity reveals that you were valuable before the world had a chance to define you. The law is simple: whatever you give attention grows. When you give your attention to distractions, confusion grows. When you give your attention to yourself, clarity grows. When you place your gaze on the chaos of others, you borrow their storm. When you place your gaze on your own center, you discover calm seas that carry you safely to your shore. The outer world may still roar, but it cannot shake the one who is inwardly focused. Clarity is their shield, clarity is their compass, clarity is their strength. Self-focus is the return to truth. It is the refusal to be tossed about by opinions, the refusal to be enslaved by comparison, the refusal to be confused by appearances. It is the quiet choice to guard your energy, to protect your vision, to honor your path, and in that choice, light shines upon the way, obstacles dissolve, doors open, and everything begins to align. The one who focuses on themselves does not chase clarity, for clarity comes to them like a faithful servant, revealing step by step the divine plan already written for their life. The law of attraction in stillness is the hidden key to all manifestation, for when the mind is quiet and the heart is calm, the unseen power begins its work without resistance, without delay, without interference. Stillness is not inaction, it is the highest form of action, for it aligns you with the invisible current that carries every desire to its perfect fulfillment. The restless mind pushes blessings away, the silent mind draws them near. When you are still, you are not doing nothing, you are allowing the law to do everything. Most people believe they must strive, chase, argue, explain, and push for what they desire. And in their pushing they create resistance. In their striving they block the very thing they are reaching for. But the one who understands the law knows that it is in stillness that attraction works with perfect power. The vibration you hold in silence is stronger than any words you can speak, for silence communicates directly with the unseen. When you are still, your spirit declares, "I already have, I already am, I already know." And that certainty becomes a magnet that pulls your good to you without effort. The law of attraction responds to vibration, not to noise, and vibration is most powerful when the mind is undisturbed. Stillness is not weakness. Stillness is mastery. It is the refusal to be moved by appearances, the refusal to be shaken by delay, the refusal to be distracted by noise. The one who is still in faith, still in vision, still in expectation, is the one who receives quickly, for they are aligned with the current of supply. You cannot hear direction when you are shouting, You cannot see opportunity when you are restless, but when you are still, everything becomes clear, and the next step reveals itself without struggle. The law does not require you to fight, it requires you to align. In stillness, alignment happens naturally. It is like the surface of calm water. When it is still, it reflects perfectly, but when it is disturbed, the reflection is broken. In the same way, when your mind is restless, your vision is scattered, but when your mind is still, your vision is perfect, and what you see with faith is what you draw into form. The still mind holds the picture of desire steadily, without doubt, without fear, and the law answers with precision. Stillness is faith in action, for to be still is to say, I trust the law, I trust the timing, I trust the process. It is easy to be restless, it is easy to be anxious, it is easy to push, but the greater power is in resting in stillness. For that rest speaks louder than any action born of fear. In stillness, you are saying to the universe, I already know it is mine, I will not chase, I will not beg, I will not doubt. And in that knowing, the universe bends to deliver, for it must respond to certainty. The law of attraction in stillness works because energy is not wasted. The restless mind burns its power in worry, in overthinking, in explaining, in doubting. The still mind gathers its power like the sun gathered into a beam, focused, unbroken, and that beam draws forth whatever it touches. When you are still, your energy is one-pointed, your desire is clear, and your vibration is unwavering. The law cannot resist this, for it responds not to scattered energy, but to concentrated certainty. Stillness is also protection, for when you are silent, you do not expose your seed to doubt. Words spoken too soon invite resistance, but silence shields your vision until it is ready to bloom. Stillness guards the harvest, stillness protects the dream, stillness allows the roots to grow deep before the fruit is seen. The loud announce, the restless reveal, the impatient expose, but the still one waits. In quiet faith, and at the perfect time, what was hidden becomes undeniable. The law of attraction in stillness teaches patience, but patience is not delay, patience is wisdom. It is the knowing that everything comes in divine order, that nothing is missing, that nothing can be taken, that nothing arrives too late. The restless one fears time, the still one trusts it. The restless one forces doors, the still one waits until the right door opens without effort. The restless one clings, the still one releases, and in release, everything flows. When you practice stillness, you become magnetic, for people feel peace around you, opportunities are drawn to you, doors open for you, and what you once chased begins to chase you. This is the paradox of the law. In stillness, everything moves toward you. In rest, everything is accomplished. In silence, everything is answered. You are not required to struggle, you are required to align, and stillness is the purest alignment. The law of attraction in stillness is not about doing less, it is about doing from the right place. Your actions are no longer frantic, they are guided. Your words are no longer wasted, they are precise. Your steps are no longer confused, they are clear. All because stillness has opened the channel where wisdom speaks and guidance flows. When you are still, you hear the whisper of the law directing you exactly where to go, when to act, when to wait, and in that obedience, you find that everything unfolds with ease. The restless believe they are making progress, but they are only spinning in circles. The still appear to be waiting, but in truth, they are moving faster than all, for the law works swiftly on their behalf. The restless are drained, the still are renewed. The restless speak much but accomplish little. The still speak little but manifest much. The restless beg for proof, the still already know, and in that knowing, proof arrives. The law of attraction in stillness is the secret of effortless manifestation. It is the unspoken command that moves the unseen into form. It is the inner calm that bends the outer world. It is the quiet certainty that draws forth supply, love, opportunity, health, and every good thing. When you are still, you are saying to the law, I am ready, I am certain, I am aligned, and in that stillness, everything you desire is already on its way. Everything that is yours cannot be withheld. Everything that seemed delayed falls into place without effort. without struggle, without noise. Everything aligns in divine timing because the universe does not move in haste. It moves in perfect rhythm, each event unfolding at the exact moment it is meant to appear. The impatient spirit believes that delay means denial, but in truth delay is preparation. It is the unseen arranging of circumstances, the hidden weaving of threads that will form the perfect design. Nothing in life is late. Nothing in life is early. Everything is precise. And when you understand this law, you no longer struggle against time. You rest in it. The restless fight against the clock. The wise know that time is their ally, that every season holds its own blessing, that every pause is pregnant with supply, that every waiting period is a silent construction of what has been promised. Divine timing does not fail. It cannot be interrupted. It cannot be overturned. It cannot be stolen. What belongs to you will never pass you by. What is not yours will never remain. And in this truth, there is peace. When you hold this peace, the mind stops racing, the heart stops grasping, and the body stops straining. You learn to walk with confidence even when the road ahead is hidden, because you know that the law is arranging the next step before you arrive. You no longer demand that things happen when you wish, for you understand that what comes too early cannot be sustained, and what comes too late is no longer needed. The law is precise, and in that precision everything unfolds with ease. The human mind fears waiting, but the divine mind knows that waiting is not emptiness, it is fullness. Just as a seed is hidden beneath the soil before it blooms, so too are blessings hidden until the right moment of unfolding. If you dig too soon, you destroy the harvest. If you wait in faith, you reap in abundance. Many people fail not because the law did not answer, but because they abandoned the promise before the season had ripened. Divine timing requires trust, and trust requires patience. But patience is not weakness, it is strength. It is the strength to know that all things are moving, even when you cannot see them. When you surrender to divine timing, you no longer compare your path to another's. You no longer envy the progress of others or despair at your own seeming delay. You know that every soul has a unique calendar, that no two destinies unfold alike, and that the law has written your moments with perfect care. What arrives for you will arrive at the hour it is meant, not a second too soon, not a second too late. This frees you from jealousy, frees you from rushing, frees you from the heaviness of fear. You begin to rest, and in that rest you draw more swiftly than in restless striving. Divine timing is protection, as much as it is blessing. Many doors do not open when you knock, not because they are locked forever, but because you are not yet ready to walk through them, or because behind them lies a path that would harm you. The law closes doors that are not yours and opens those that are, and, though the closed doors may sting, in time you see they were mercy. The law knows what you cannot yet know, and so it arranges events with precision, ensuring that what comes is not only good but perfect. Everything aligns in divine timing because alignment requires more than your readiness. It requires the readiness of circumstances, of people, of places, of opportunities. You may be ready to step forward, but the stage is not yet built. You may be ready to receive, but the supply is still being delivered. You may be ready to love, but the other heart is still being healed. Divine timing ensures that all parts come together in harmony, so that when the moment arrives, nothing is missing, nothing is broken, nothing is incomplete. To live in faith of divine timing is to live in peace. You no longer need to grasp, you no longer need to hurry, you no longer need to control. You rise each day with certainty that what is for you is already moving toward you, that what you are waiting for is already on its way, that what has been promised is already secured. This is the faith that moves mountains quietly. This is the trust that turns waiting into strength. This is the law that never fails. Everything aligns in divine timing, and when it does, you see why the waiting was necessary, why the pauses were protection, why the delays were mercy. You see that the law was not holding back from you, it was preparing for you. You see that the universe was not silent, it was arranging. You see that what once felt like emptiness was in truth fullness. Fullness waiting to overflow. And in that moment of arrival, all doubt is dissolved, all fear is forgotten, and you marvel at the perfection of the timing. The impatient spirit may cry, but the wise spirit smiles, for it knows the truth. Nothing good is ever missed, nothing right is ever late, nothing promised is ever broken. All unfolds exactly as it should, when it should, and in the way it should. To rest in this knowing is to walk in freedom, for you are no longer a prisoner of the clock, you are a partner of eternity. And as you remain steady in faith, as you remain anchored in trust, as you remain calm in waiting, you discover that everything, indeed, aligns in divine timing, and when it does, it falls into place more perfectly than you could have ever planned. When you look within, when you guard your words, when you choose stillness over noise and faith over fear, you see that life was never against you, it was always arranging itself in your favor. Silence gave you strength. Self-focus gave you clarity. Stillness opened the channel, and divine timing delivered what was already yours. Nothing was missing, nothing was late, nothing was denied. The law never failed, it only waited for you to align. And when you did, everything fell into place without struggle, without noise, without resistance, just as it was written from the beginning.